Well, today is the day that our film, The Power of the Dog, goes on to the streaming giant Netflix, you know, in 190 countries.
Yes.
And
At the same time.
I mean, yeah, it's invisible to me. I have no idea. It's such a strange thing because it's an event that happens in everybody's house without me being even aware of it, you know. I think it's very ungraspable, and so I'm really grateful for being able to also go to the film festivals.
It's a lonely profession,
Yeah.
director, and you're the one that turn on the light to open the bar, and you're the one cleaning the vomit at the end of the day, and you turn off the light
I
and the
know,
bar.
that's
So you
so
like to see the
true.
customers somewhere. So glad to see you.
Yeah.
And to be able to talk a little bit of shop. I have so much to ask about your movie. You know, I don't want to ask the usual stuff. I want to be very pointed
Yeah.
because I was fascinated. I've always...
I want to get my ideas right.
Yes.
Open up the gate, let him out.
You sure he's not ready?
Go on, let him out.
He's just a man, Peter. Only another man.
Your portraiture of men is so acute, and every time I see your movies, I'm very affected by it. In one way or another, I find it really precise, but really compassionate and brutal at the same time, meaning it's unsparing. In this one, the composition of the character of Benedict, I could not imagine before seeing the movie him doing that part.
Yeah.
But you did. So how did you choose him?
Well, I think one of the excitements is having an actor that you can't imagine coming to the performance that they do. I mean, the calculation that I made was that Benedict is an amazing actor.
He certainly is.
And he's a very charismatic man and intelligent, and he had the hunger to do something with, I think, a lot of challenge in it for him. I just didn't want to be disappointed with someone who was going to just walk in on the day and, you know, not have done the research. I needed someone who's hungry.
For that depth.
For that character and that depth. And I was also sort of had this instinct that, you know, we had to do some psyche work together. Something that went further than normal. I just sort of asked around and found out about this woman called Kim Gillingham, who does dream work. And she's trained by Sandra Seacat and Marion Woodman, who's a really amazing Canadian Jungian therapist. Because I really felt that we had to
my three
build him
favorite
from
words: Canadian Jungian therapist. I mean,
Okay.
not an ice cream. My four favorite words.
We had to build him from the psyche up. And I also needed to be opened up to the depths of the story. Like I was sort of sitting on the edge of this amazing novel. You know, Thomas Savage, who lived the life, and thinking, oh my God, how am I going to get inside, you know, be inside it? And we did it through our dreams. Both of us.
What do you mean by that? Like you analyze your dreams and...
I had the dreams. I wrote them down. I met with her and she sort of got me to lie down with soothing music and everything. And then she started, you know, with the script to facilitate almost a discussion between myself as Phil and Jane, the director.
Wow.
She said, Jane, you're Phil now. And she said, so as Phil, what would you want to tell Jane about, what she needs to know to tell your story?
Wow, beautiful.
And immediately I said, you know, like I was so harsh, I was so tough, saying to, you know, the Jane, the director, you know, well, that bitch has got to get real. You know? She's got to take off that little white scientific coat of hers and get dirty. Just get in the dirt.
How like him?
Because that's the truth, you know?
Yes.
And I know, and I was going, wow, yes, I do. Yeah. I mean, it was really just facilitating a conversation, clearly, that would be very hard to do alone between myself and an imagined character.
Yes.
Yeah. Have you ever done anything like that?
Well, I do it through biographies. I write biographies that are most of the time useless after 7 days of shooting, but I go into the most detail I can. What happened
of the characters.
Of the characters, astrological sign, what they eat, what they don't eat, what they like, what they don't like. And sometimes they're useful for the actor. Sometimes the actor starts on it and we move away. But I find that most of the time I like thinking that I'm writing a part of myself. Whatever we do is self-portraiture in a strange way. But what I find fascinating about the work is you do that to internalize the character, but then there's no possibility that those footsteps were accidental. The way he walked, the way he had like a metronome of masculinity, the way he carried himself.
Yeah.
He's a funny character. He's a very convoluted character because he's very direct and truthful
Yes.
because he's suffocating something that he cannot reveal.
Yes.
It's a really interesting character.
That's so interesting, actually, that you say that, because he's so brutal with people that are hiding themselves, and yet the whole time he's hiding himself.
Yes. But he's like
Yeah,
a truth
or
seeker.
people that are pretending, you know?
Yeah. He hates that.
Yeah,
And
he hates that.
frailty, and he hates, but that ultimately is so, what is great about it, look, first of all, Benedict has verbal pyrotechnics, but he uses them in a concussive way here.
Yeah.
It's short,
Yeah.
brief, brutal punches
Yeah.
when he talks.
Now, gentlemen, look, see, that's what you do with the cloth.
It's really just for wine drips.
Oh, you got that, boys? Only for the drip.
I think Phil would be a really sort of frightening guy to be around because he could turn on you, you know? And he could speak truth to you that's pretty uncomfortable. On the other hand, there's a kind of poetic harshness to him that I kind of love.
He has the dichotomy in himself of everything he loves and everything he hates. And what speaks loudest is what he keeps quiet. And at the same time, he's a character that either has to be completely alone or is, in a strange way, very high maintenance. Everything has to cater to him being in an environment that he...
And it's so fragile, actually, because he can't manage to be alone or by himself without his brother, without his support, you know.
Which
I mean,
he
actually-
despises in a way, Fatso,
Yeah.
but loves him.
He feels like he's his protector, that without, with, you know, Jesse's character, George, without Phil being there, Jesse wouldn't survive. So he actually doesn't see his brother truthfully at all, that he's grown away and that he's looking for perhaps a life of his own.
Yes.
After all these years, I mean, sharing a bedroom. These
Because-
guys have, you know,
Because it's a
40
mirror,
plus,
right?
you know? Yeah.
I mean, the reality, I think when we look at people truthfully, they're windows. When we look at them lying, they're mirrors. And what we hate about ourselves is what comes back. And what is impossible is that he wouldn't survive without
Yeah,
Jesse's.
that's right.
And he is incapable of admitting that.
Yeah, he couldn't admit it. I mean, but he's really suffering.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in a way, you know, I'm sitting here with you, the man who's the expert on the emotional monster. And he really is a monster.
He's
He's a monster,
really
and I
is.
have a lot of love for monsters.
Yes.
And I think a friend of
You
mine,
do.
a friend of mine said to me after, he said, "Oh, I love Phil. Is there something wrong with me? Am I wrong?" I loved him.
No,
And I
love
said,
him too.
he is a monster. You know, like all monsters have that issue of that they can't live in the world, really. Can't be accepted. Yeah,
It's the ultimate self-imposed exile.
yeah.
In a way that is either very resolvable or completely unsolvable.
Do you think it's because we all feel ourselves to be monsters in a way?
I think if you are made of a certain tessiture, you crack when you're young, and that crack, more often than not, is not acknowledged and stays open. And the same goes for my character in Mind Morale. He's a guy that has, David Stratton says it very clearly, you have a crack, and if they did a number on you, it's a void, and then you cannot fill it with anything.
This is the Bradley's character.
Because I think ultimately there's a thing called kintsugi, which is a Japanese art of repairing something by exposing the fracture and gilding it. And that's what we ultimately choose to do as storytellers. We gild that fracture with the stories, but we know it's there.
So we show it.
We show it.
Yeah.
We, instead of hiding it,
Yeah.
which is extremely dangerous,
We take our curiosity to it.
we go.
I was interested in, you know, the beginning of your film, which you returned to several times. He's doing something which looks to be like something really terrible, criminal,
Yes.
you know.
And little by
Little by little you discover, well, what I discovered was that, you know, it was more complicated maybe, that
yeah.
I wasn't really sure, that there was some
Yeah.
father issues, that the father had been very tough on him and now
Yeah.
he was taking his revenge or
Basically,
something.
whenever I've had meetings for the last 30 years,
Yeah.
and people say, we have to give the audience answers right away. So I said, no, we have to have questions right away.
Yeah.
to give them. And to me, I said, what can the image be that opens with the most questions for the rest of the movie? Well, he's dragging a corpse
Yeah.
on the beginning of the movie, and then he burns it,
Yeah.
and then you want to know what happened, and then what is revealed is actually emotionally, for me, more revealing than just a crime. We all carry our corpses,
Was this film of yours like, I mean, I noticed that the father issues were brought up a few times.
Yes.
Is that something you wanted to explore in this, or
Well, my
something for
my
you
dad-
particularly personally?
Yeah, my dad passed away after
Oh.
Shape of Water, and it's not about the real father. It's not about my
So you
father.
didn't cremate him, I guess.
No, but it's like the Jungian father, to use, it's the shadow that is cast upon you. It's not about anecdotally how you got along with your dad. My dad
Yeah.
and I got along really well, but it's the shadow of that, how you explore it, the issues of how you behave in the world when facing what we face every time we do a movie. Is how much can I be truthful about myself and how I see the world without being afraid. And a character that decides to lie and be a populist, and
Yeah.
he's never had enough in the movie, and that was what intrigued me, And he never solves the basic problems he has.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. I mean, he's just like a kind of badass, right?
Yeah,
Right from the word go. I mean, he's attractive, he's handsome.
he's a maybe. That's the way we put it, a maybe, which is a torture because everybody wants that person to be better.
He's
It's
looking, to succeed
Yes.
um,
Well, there's a flip
in
side
any
of
way
it.
possible, really.
Yeah. When they said, what is it about? I said, what is Nightmare Alley about? I said, about the American dream. The flip side of that
nightmare,
is a nightmare for most people, really. The one of the myths I fear the most and I find torturous, is the idea of success. I think it's such a
So you've been
torture.
tortured a bit lately.
Well, if you
Yeah.
buy that,
Yeah.
buy that, the path that you choose, right, is the success. Fucking up in your own terms, I guess.
Yeah. So not allowing it to be in the hands of others to decide whether
Yeah.
you're
Which is
Successful or not.
again what's interesting for me about the juxtaposition of the two brothers and Kristen Dunst's character is really the fact that you can be happy with very little,
Yeah.
or you can never be happy, no matter what you get. And the ending is so good. I won't reveal it, but it's so incredible that is. I mean, I will say this: you see them kiss for the first time at the end, the couple, and it's so magnificent that you do that.
I realise, I didn't even think that, that was the first kiss we saw.
It is the first kiss. And I'm looking and I go, how did she do that? How did she do this? It's very much seared in my memory.
That's nice. I mean, I felt that about reading the book, that the way Thomas Savage went through the story, and I think the depth of it and propulsion that it gathered towards the end when you really don't know what's going to happen. And when I got to the end, I thought, oh, well, I wasn't expecting that.
Yes.
I actually had to flick back through and make sure I understood things properly.
Mhm.
And then I thought, okay, but it kept coming back to me. So I think it really is in the strength of the book and his storytelling. It's that very rare thing when you get form and content working so freaking well together.
Yeah,
And that's what excited me about that
it does.
property. It's very rare, so rare. And in a story, it's the best thing, when you get form and content working like excellently. Like I always see Casablanca as a film that does that really well.
I think both our movies work. Mine was a prologue.
Yeah.
All movies are prologue to the last 2 minutes
Yes.
for me. And that's the way I constructed it. I said, the important thing is in the last 2 minutes, you realize, oh, this is what it was all about. This is him. And yours too. The last 3 minutes, you go, and you realize you want to see it again
Yeah.
to see those things enact. But
Was that in your book as well? Was that?
Yes,
Nightmare
that's
Alley.
that's in the book. The
Yeah.
book is an interesting book because William Lindsay Gresham was a very interesting guy. He comes into American letters right at the crossroads of psychoanalysis, the tarot, the end of sort of the myth of prosperity, and right after the Depression, he went to the Spanish Civil War. He was seeking an answer. Unfortunately, the answer he got was not great, and he committed suicide.
Oh,
But it was an answer for him. There's an autobiography obliquely on Nightmare Alley. I wanted to ask you because what I found fascinating, you shot New Zealand for Montana, and it's almost like a time machine to shoot in New Zealand for me.
Oh, you know New Zealand, so
Yeah,
you've been there. I mean, yeah, I have to say I was like not happy about the idea of shooting Montana in New Zealand. Like to begin with, I was really resistant and just saying, well, what the hell are you doing to me? I've finally got this American story and I want to tell it to Montana, thanks, you know.
Yes.
It's got to be American. You know, the pressures of the budget, the pressures of actually creating it in 1925, there is no such thing in Montana like the ranch we needed.
Yes.
It just doesn't exist. So to build that in Montana would have been about twice as much as what it was in New Zealand.
Yes.
We did this experiment where I went around and looked for locations in New Zealand and then went to Montana and looked around at the actual ranch where Thomas Savage lived, which I was like shaking the day we went to see that, thinking, oh, you know, like, oh yeah, let this be the place, you know. But I got there and the house had been removed and put somewhere else. And I thought, oh, we could just move the house back. But when we went to see the house, it was really just a quadruple kit home. And it didn't have the fantasy or how I thought really Thomas Savage spoke about it in his book.
Don't think. 1, 2, 3, to the side. 1, 2, 3, and back. 1, 2, 3.
The way you coded the wardrobe and the set design and the production design and the landscape, it's almost like color coded in a way that makes it have a patina.
Yeah, you know, I wanted it in black and white because I
You came
couldn't
close.
believe that we could get such a good color palette out of what we were going. You know, I just thought it was going to be ugly. It was going to be a mess because I'm like very fussy about that sort of thing. I'm ex-art school.
Yes.
Are you ex-art school? You're like, I looked it up, makeup prosthetics, which is so amazing.
Yeah, and storyboarder and all that. Yeah.
I mean, the worlds you create are so delicious.
And
I want to
see
live in them, basically.
Oh,
Is your house like that, or do you make your home, home modern, or is it?
No, my house is exactly like an exploded view of my brain. I mean, I have the family
I
home.
read that you've got a room where you just want it raining all the time. Is that for real?
Yes, and the house is, believe me, I'll show you the detail. I mean, when he goes by the window, I have the rope used in case of fire.
Yeah.
Those details are priceless. They're beautiful, and you can.
Thank you for that, because people go like, why do we have to show this?
Oh.
I don't know, we're showing it. Okay, you know, like
No.
sometimes you can't explain.
No.
This is a suggestion of a.
That's a world.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
It's the unnecessary detail that is necessary. When you have the same shirt and it's buttoned all the way up, or one button down, or two buttons down, it's exactly a different story, each of those details. And the pristine presence, when they arrive and Kristen Dunst's character acquires this gold little lame robe that is completely incongruous.
Quite cheap, yeah.
But it's that idea of elegance. And then the mayor and his wife come in like negative spaces of black.
Yeah.
But funereal, but impeccable. And you know they're out of their league.
Oh,
This
completely,
character.
like with the little cocktails and
Yes.
orange blossoms.
With the little umbrellas.
I know. Then they can't even make conversation for a second.
It's a fascinating thing because she's taken to a better life, right? And is really that, and at that moment she becomes a prisoner.
Yes, she is. But you know, she's also like thinking for her son, his better life.
Yeah.
I think that's a very important thing for her. He has the journal where he's cutting out things and imagining his mother getting married again.
He's such an interesting character.
Yeah.
He's such how did you find this actor?
Well, he's Australian, actually, originally. So I was aware of his work right from the beginning as a kid.
Fascinating.
And what a beautiful face he had. And
otherworldly.
Yeah. I thought he probably was going to be too old for us. So I was looking a lot for an unknown kid that could come up, because in Australia and New Zealand, you know, like they're out of Hollywood, so they're more natural kids.
Yes.
You know, you can find someone who's not just trying to be hip and amazeballs all the time. But we could not find a kid that felt right. And
he's ageless.
I started to think about this. You know, we have to find Cody. And then I saw in an art book, because I love to look at art books to be influenced in a not sort of like photographic way, but in a more emotional way. Look at a painting. I looked at this painting by a guy called Strickland, and it looked like Cody, and it looked like our boy. And I went, we've got to find Cody. When we go to LA, I'm going to audition him. And I started to haunt him a little bit on his don't know, Twitter account or whatever accounts they have. And anyway, when we finally met, he came in the door and I felt so excited, like there is Peter. And I just started talking to him as if he was Peter. And he took it up straight away. And, I interviewed him about his mother, his life, how he's going to get out of the town.
What little lady made these?
Actually, I did, sir. My mother was a florist, so I made them to look like the ones in our garden.
Oh, well, do pardon me.
I think the great aspect of that performance is he's frail, but he's incredibly strong.
Scarily strong, actually, in the end.
Yeah. I think
you can make the remake.
Well,
Too.
we're all paradoxical.
Yeah,
I think all of us, we have paradoxes, and I think he is that paradox of because at the same time we say he has a very old soul, but he's also a kid. He's also a young man, and he's very strong and frail at the same time. And Jesse is amazing at playing.
Oh my God, Jesse Plemons.
Simple and
so
goodness
real.
and so real, always real.
I talked to him about that. I said, Jesse, how do you get to be you?
No,
How do you do what you do? I mean,
it's always real.
Yeah, but how, Jesse? Because it's like at least a few degrees more real than any other actor on the planet.
I would agree. Yeah.
He said, I went to acting school in Texas, and it's clear that he did figure it out for himself. He may have not started where he has ended up, but he actually worked his way there.
To being that.
To be able to do what he does.
But it's used in such a good opposing force because you sense that Phil, the Benedict character, revels in being a disappointment. He enjoys being a disappointment in a almost pre-punk
disappointing way. His brother and his mother.
Yes.
I just want to say how nice it is not to be alone.
I'm told a lot that I'm working in the Western genre.
Yes.
And it stops me short a little bit because it's true, but it's not true.
And innocent, yes.
Yeah. And actually, I was really wanting to speak to you about your understanding of genre because it's, I think, very sophisticated and complex, and you use it really powerfully. Like you own it. I'm like protest. I'm just telling my story, and it happens to have many qualities similar to the Western genres. But once you've stepped into that, you are part of it. So tell me about how you use it.
Well, in regards to you, however, you do have recognizable, you acknowledge the landscape. Not only in the punctuation of the scenes, now and then you go and you say, and here's the other character, the mountain, the storm, the clouds.
Muscularity.
You do acknowledge that. But I think that within that, then you can be free and not try to make a Western in that sense. The same happened to me when people kept saying it's noir. And I said, well, it's noir only in these aspects. Like, for example, noir to me is a philosophy of disappointment, disillusionment, existentialism. That is entirely, most of the time, in the hands of the characters. They have to make a choice. It's a very moral genre, where you clearly see the character make a moral choice or a number of choices that will lead that character to destiny.
Yes.
And then it has the weight of destiny, but you saw them constructed.
Stanton, when he met
Lilith.
Kate Blanchett's character. By the way, she got a little bump on her nose. It looks like, I thought, have they copied Sofia Coppola's nose?
No, but what a name, Lilith.
Yeah, Lilith, like lithe. Yeah, it's a great name.
It's
Lilith, what's her surname?
Lilith Ritter.
Yeah.
Lilith Ritter, the first wife of Adam. Yeah. Very biblical, but I think that was the character that created the axis for the movie. It was about doing this sort of mythical.
She was like a temptress.
For me, she's the avenger of reality. Like she comes and tells him, this is who you are, and be ready. And then he finds out who he is.
And we also find out she's, a wounded, literally wounded.
Yes, literally wounded.
Yeah.
That was the thing we tried to do. We tried to make the characters echo each other through scars. Like he has a scar on his back. Yeah. The unborn baby has a scar in the center like her.
The unborn baby was haunting.
Yes, well, that's...
It's almost like a pill in the middle, or like a third eye.
I mean, the eyes and circles are a repeating motif in the movie, but I loved that baby so much. And I remember Bradley Cooper kept saying, you like that baby so beautiful, so
Yeah,
tenderly.
it's like a Cupid doll.
Like,
That they actually do sell at
at
carnivals.
the carnival, which
Yeah.
are there, yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's like a
deformed
perverted, deformed
Cupid
Cupid
doll.
doll. Yeah.
Yes.
The detail in your film, my friend,
Thank
is
you.
so incredibly rich.
Thank you.
It's
we
a
work
feast, really. I mean, how do you work at that?
We start with what I call the submarine, which is 4 people for 6 months. And we just board see, what I do is I want to be completely prepared for the movie and completely unprepared for reality. Meaning I prepare everything that I can think of. And then you are playing chess with life. And life puts you in a checkmate every day.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I maybe don't prepare to the level you do, but I do prepare similarly. Yet I'm still terrified when I get on to the set.
Yeah.
You know, I've gone like, I've freaking tried to prepare. I've tried to do everything, and I just still don't feel I know what to do at all. What to do at all, and it's not till I'm driving there with my first assistant, and I'm saying, I don't know what to do.
Yes.
I don't know how to do this. I've forgotten how to film. I've forgotten how to film. I don't know what to do. And he said, Jane, we're going to do the same thing we always do.
Yes.
We're going to put the camera up. We're going to put some people in front of it, and we're going to shoot it.
Yes.
And I went, oh, yeah, okay. I just think I can manage that. And as soon as that camera gets up,
You're in.
I suddenly, an almond or whatever, an activated almond, I go, all right.
Slow day.
Have you not heard? We're at war.
I'm aware.
Much has been made about the delivery by streaming.
Yes.
And what
It's a good segue.
they're doing to this or that. No, but I think is there are 2 aspects to it. I would love to hear what you think about it.
Well, today is the day that our film, The Power of the Dog, goes on to the streaming giant Netflix, in 190 countries.
Yes.
And
At the same
I
time.
mean, yeah, it's invisible to me. I have no idea. It's such a strange thing because it's an event that happens in everybody's house without me being even aware of it, I mean, as a user of them, I'm like a whore. I just do anything I want, I don't watch movies on my phone.
No, of course not.
That's the limit. But I'm a greedy little thing, and I'll do what I want. I'll look at I'll look at something on my iPad. If it's a favorite or a special filmmaker, I'll go to a movie.
I think that obviously the theatrical experience, which is beautiful and moving, and is I hope it'll never go away. I hope it'll never go away. It will wane and rise.
I think so.
I think.
Yeah.
I don't think we all talk about, the world has ended many times. At the turn of this century or another, everybody goes into a panic, the world is ending. I think it's just mutating, and the storytelling is changing its position in how it's used. But at the end of the day, I hope and I pray that the theatrical possibility continues.
I think it will.
Yeah, and at the same time, I must say, in my personal story, many of the projects that I would have never been able to shoot have been able to be financed because of this. That I can have autonomy, and I can have crazy ideas like saying, I want to do Pinocchio during the rise of Mussolini in stop motion. A perfectly reasonable pitch for me.
Yeah, stop motion. You mean
Puppets.
puppets, right? Yeah.
And I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Because it was greenlit by Netflix.
That'd be beautiful.
I couldn't do it for more than a decade. I couldn't do it any other way. So I'm very grateful that exists. As a consumer of images and stories, I'm very grateful that I can access them. And I think, to be truthful, a lot of my exposure as a kid to the classical cinema of every country in the world was through the TV. A lot of it. Then, if my hunger was not subsided after that, I would seek the same movie on the big screen, and I would see the different experience. Like 2001, I saw first on a small theater in Mexico. I thought I had seen it, and then I saw it in Cinerama in Los Angeles, and I said, turns out I had not seen this movie.
Yeah.
Vertigo, same thing.
I mean, I think like that, my feeling is that when I look back on my life or I look at life, I remember moments like, peaks of waves that have cemented there cells in my brain. And some of those are in cinemas, you know. And when I remember these moments that were for me extremely powerful, I remember where I was sitting in the cinema. I remember even what I had on. I remember the type of cinema it was. And it's all a part of how the memory works, I think, to encase that moment for me. And I'm afraid that if we watch everything just at home on our TVs or iPads, they don't have any particularity. They just melt into each other.
The big difference for me is we control the TV and cinema is in charge of us when we submit.
Which is nice. You have to submit,
Yes.
And submission, I think, is a really powerful thing. We do it in love to our people we love.
Yes.
I think it's very ungraspable. And so I'm really grateful for being able to also go to the film festivals.
Yes.
And,
of course,
you know, to feel film amongst the audiences, you know, to actually experience their experience. Because in so many ways, I make films as my gift to the world. You know, some people are probably
yes. They don't even open it.
Not for me. Yeah, whatever.
Jane again with the cake.
Some crap, whatever. But, you know, there's some people, well, for my people, I guess, the ones that like my gift, that's a big deal for me, you know. So you know, you want to kind of watch them unwrap it and see if they put on oh wow, I love it.
It's a lonely profession, director, and you're the one that turn on the light to open the bar. And you're the one cleaning the vomit at the end of the day, and you turn off the light and the bar. So you like to see the customers somewhere.
Yeah, I often think of myself as the caretaker or the janitor. You know, because there's just so much checking of stuff that you have to do, and in the end, you're the one doing it. You know, like check that print, check. I mean, how do you ever make sure that your film is loud enough or not loud enough? I mean, that's so difficult. Even just that simple thing. This film would not have been made if Netflix hadn't stepped up and said, "We will take this risk."
There you have it.
You know,
we're not going to settle it today.
Yeah, and you know, I keep saying, well, why can't you also have a theatrical release? You know, why? Surely your subscribers would love that too.
Let's find a solution and look for it.
Okay, my friend. We're going to continue this, right?
Yes, we should. In the rain room. In the rain room.
Oh my God.
Yes.